My name's Aaron Massey from MrFixItDIY.com, and welcome back to another episode of Homeschool. For today's project, I'm going to show you how to tile a bathroom floor. This project is brought to you by WD-40. Above and beyond the legendary signature blue and yellow can, WD-40 Company has a full range of high-performance products for maintenance, repair, and cleaning and industrial applications for all manner of enthusiasts, professionals, DIYers, and homeowners. To see the full range of their products, check out their website at WD-40.com. A few months ago, I tackled a pretty massive remodel on the house to get my son's bedroom and bathroom together, and as part of that renovation, I had to retile the bathroom floor. So today I'm going to show you the steps I took in order to do that, in case you'd like to tackle a similar project on your own. I rate these projects by how many F-bombs you're likely to drop while tackling the project. This one is a little on the difficult side because it can be pretty labor intensive and there's a few specific tools you might need. To get started, first I had to remove the existing floor and prepare it for the new tile floor. Now this bathroom happened to have an old pink tile floor with a thick mortar bed under it, so removing it was a bit of a challenge. Once removed, I had to do a little bit of structural work to repair some subfloor issues due to water and termites. But once the subfloor was repaired, I could get to work on preparing for the new tile. Now there are a lot of options out there nowadays to use, including cement backer board like I used, floating a mortar bed like the previous floor, or a newer lightweight rollout waterproofing membrane like Schluter Ditra. If you plan to add radiant heat flooring to your new floor, that may affect which type of substrate you choose to use. Now in this case, I just went with a simple backer board. Installing the backer board requires cutting the pieces to fit your space and then attaching it to the subfloor with thin set mortar and cement board screws. Once installed, I used some mesh tape and thin set mortar to cover all the seams and create a water resistant surface. Now from there, I chose to cover the whole floor in a product called RedGuard. RedGuard is a liquid waterproofing membrane. I had used it for the shower walls and I had some left over, so I chose to use it on the floor as an added waterproofing barrier. Next, I was ready for tile. Now, in my case, I chose a hexagonal ceramic tile, and because of that, I wanted to experiment with the layout to minimize cuts and waste. I find using software like Google SketchUp allows you to input the dimensions of your space to determine the best layout before actually installing. To install the tile, I mixed up some thin set mortar and applied it to the floor with a notched trowel. Because this is a larger tile, I'm using a 1/4 inch trowel. The rule of thumb is to use thin set mortar as your tile adhesive in wet areas. For drier areas like a kitchen backsplash, you can use tile adhesive or mastic, which is what they sell in the store as pre-made tile adhesive. Back buttering involves using a small trowel to apply mortar to the backside of the tile, which when pressed into place, creates a solid mortar seal to secure the tile in place. For tile spacers, I chose to use these tile alignment spacers. These tiles have 6 sides, so this type of spacer helps minimize lippage, which is where one tile is higher than the next. Because of the hexagonal shape, I had to use a lot of them. I worked my way through the room, and when I got to the edges, I used my wet saw to cut the tiles to the necessary size. When I reach a door jamb, I use a tile as a level gauge to give me an idea of where the new floor is going to be, and then using an oscillating tool, I cut off the jamb so that I can slide a tile underneath. If you don't do it this way, you'll end up leaving a gap that you'll have to fill with grout later, and then you'll end up grouting in the door casing, and it looks terrible, so I highly recommend that you do it the way that I'm suggesting. When it comes to the toilet flange and the curved tub surround, I use a pair of tile nippers to cut a radius in the tiles so that the cut was as clean and close to the curved surfaces as possible. Always start furthest away from your access door and work your way back out of the room. Once I had worked my way through the entire room, I let the mortar set for 24 hours before coming back in and removing the clips and breaking off the protruding spacers. And finally, I was ready for grout. In this case, I'm using a sandless grout because my grout lines are 1/8 of an inch. If your grout lines are larger than that, you should use sanded grout. Grout comes in a wide array of colors, but I chose to use a gray similar to the floor. I used a grout float to spread it across the floor, making sure all the lines were filled, and then used a wet sponge to wipe off the excess once it had hazed over. Lastly, I applied several coats of grout sealant to the floor to create a watertight seal and prevent it from getting dirty. Grout is a porous substance, so if you don't seal it, it can absorb moisture and dirt. So that's it for the actual installation of the tile. you could go around the room and add your baseboards or trim or whatever you choose to do beyond that. Once you're finished with your trowels, I always recommend that you wipe them down with a coat of WD-40. If you don't do this, your trowels can oxidize over time as they sit around, so next time you go to use them, you'll have to deal with scrubbing off the rust. If you forgot to clean off your trowels and mortar has hardened on them, don't worry, they're not ruined. You can use some WD-40 to penetrate the mortar. I recommend the non-aerosol spray for this application. Spray a little on the trowel and then lightly tap it with a hammer. Then use another trowel or painter's tool to scrape off the hardened mortar. If the trowel's been sitting around a while and is rusty, I recommend letting it soak in WD-40's Specialist Rust Remover Soak for a while and then cleaning it up with a wire brush or some steel wool before wiping it down with WD-40 and putting it away. Spend the time to keep them in good working order and they'll last you for many more jobs to come. Well, that's it for this project. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope it gave you the confidence to tackle your own DIY bathroom tile project. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. And if you want any more information about this or any of my DIY home improvement related projects, you can check out my website at MrFixItDIY.com. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.